Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're unpacking a stack of sources that honestly read less like autobiography and more like a kind of user manual for, let's call it strategic personal chaos.
Yeah, it's quite a collection. We've got these wildly candid narratives, really focused on things like status anxiety, family dysfunction, some truly disastrous dating stories.
And this constant battle, right,
Oh,
between wanting self-control and just pure impulsivity.
exactly. And our mission here is to go beyond just the funny stories, the punchlines. We're trying to extract the surprising, maybe sometimes uncomfortable truths hidden inside.
Looking at how self-perception gets manufactured, how we really negotiate social status.
And maybe why that line between confidence and complete self-sabotage can be, well, razor thin.
And we're kicking things off right in fifth grade. This is where the narrator learns this ultimate lesson in social engineering. Basically, the incredible power of a massive fabrication when you're trying to escape, well, shame. Debilitating shame.
It all starts with a car. You wouldn't think it, but yeah. Specifically, a 1967 banana yellow Yugo in 1984.
Oh, wow. That paints a picture.
It does. The narrator was 9, living in a town that was pretty much defined by affluence. Think Mercedes, Jaguars,
Yeah.
status symbols everywhere.
So the Yugo wasn't just a car. It was...
It's like a rolling scarlet letter of social disadvantage. Even though, interestingly, her family wasn't actually poor, just
Yeah.
not keeping up with the Joneses in that specific way.
And the fallout was immediate.
Oh, yeah. Public humiliation, very targeted. She describes older girls, 5th graders, following her around, calling her poor, ugly,
That's rough.
and then it escalated. They started calling her a dog and actually physically barking at her in the school hallways.
Barking. Wow. That's just incredibly cruel. A really visceral kind of childhood shaming.
It is. But this trauma, it seems, led to this immediate, almost strategic countermove. A teacher asked why her language arts homework was missing.
And instead of the truth.
She just spontaneously invented this huge story. Said she'd been to 3 straight nights of negotiations with Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell for a contract to play Goldie Hawn's daughter in the sequel to Private Benjamin.
Slight chuckle. Okay. Let's... Ambitious.
Ambitious is one word for it. But here's where it gets really interesting, right? This massive, completely ridiculous lie.
Yeah.
It instantly changed her entire social world.
How so?
A classmate apparently reported back saying something like, everyone's talking about it, everyone thinks it's so cool. And just like that, the barking stopped instantly.
So status successfully manufactured out of thin air.
Pretty much. And she kept it going. She maintained this new status by just escalating the lie, adding these specific absurd details,
Like what?
like demanding a trailer with a jacuzzi and a personal chef, claiming Kurt Russell was being mercurial during the negotiations.
Mercurial. That's quite the vocabulary for a fifth grader.
Right. And when someone asked where they'd be shooting, she just decided, oh, the Galapagos Islands and the movie. It was going to be a cross between Splash and Private Benjamin.
The laughing. Okay, that's amazing. A mermaid military comedy.
Who wouldn't want to see that? Naturally, her parents eventually found out. Her father, predictably, called the principal, demanded she tell the truth.
I imagine he wasn't pleased.
No. He apparently used the Yiddish term mishugas, meaning nonsense or craziness.
But what was her defense? Did she have one?
Oh, she did.
Yeah.
And listen to this because it really reveals the calculation here. She said, it's a lot more pleasant going through the halls at school, not getting growled at.
Wow. So for her, social capital just completely trumped honesty. The relief was worth the lie.
The immediate relief, yeah. It was worth it in that moment.
So the analysis here, it feels like it goes deeper than just, don't lie. What this anecdote really shows you is the incredible speed, the velocity of performative status.
Exactly. Sometimes a huge, entertaining fabrication is just a much faster tool for controlling how people see you than, say, slowly trying to correct misconceptions.
It transforms shame into a kind of power almost instantly.
And the lesson she personally took away was purely strategic, not really moral. It was, if you're going to make up an enormous untruth, make sure you tell it to people you are not spending the rest of the school year with.
Practical advice, if nothing else.
Very practical.
Okay, so that initial anxiety about status and money, it seems like it quickly shifts into this, well, precocious, maybe highly questionable entrepreneurship.
Yeah, by age 12, she's already worried about her family's financial stability.
12.
She did this calculation, basically concluding that despite owning property, her family's, and I quote, liquid assets were on par with those of a homeless person with no hands.
That's quite an image. So what did she do?
She launched this internal family audit, started demanding to know the status of funds supposedly allocated for her bat mitzvah, a European teen tour.
Okay.
And this really shows an interesting mix of modern anxiety and old world concern, her dowry.
Her dowry at 12.
Her dowry. Apparently the parents were, let's say, ill-equipped to handle this kind of financial grilling from their daughter.
I can imagine. But then something changed.
Well, fortuitously for her burgeoning business plan, she developed C-cups around this time.
Ah, an asset.
An asset, exactly. And this physical development led her to believe she could pass for 20 and start some kind of underground business.
Okay, so what were the options on the table?
Her internal market analysis, as she tells it, came down to two main options: prostitution,
Whoa.
or an underground babysitting ring. She chose the latter. She specifically notes having a strong reluctance regarding, quote, penetration at the time.
Well, that's reassuring, I suppose. So the babysitting ring it is.
Yes. And this business immediately throws her right into the deep end of chaos, almost instantly.
How so?
She gets this client, a woman named Susan. The job is to care for, wait for it, 72-month-old Kyle.
72 months. So 6 years old. Why say it like that?
Who knows? Adds to the absurdity, maybe. But also she has to watch 14-year-old James Jr.
Okay.
And here's the kicker. James Jr. is 2 years older than the narrator, the babysitter herself.
Oh boy. Recipe for disaster.
Totally. And Susan, the mom, leaves like 3 pages of emergency contacts, including relatives in Russia, just adding to the pressure.
So James Jr., how did that go?
Predictably badly.
Mm-hmm.
He becomes this ultimate management challenge, demands frozen yogurt, calls her a dirty bitch, and at one point throws a game controller at the window,
Oh no.
shattering it,
Yeah.
which then leads to this major violent meltdown.
Right. This raises a really interesting question, actually, for anyone who manages people or difficult clients. How do you regain control when your quote-unquote employee or subordinate is older, stronger, and just completely out of control?
Well, her solution was negotiation.
Yeah.
Basically cut a deal.
Hmm?
She wouldn't report James for stealing ice cream earlier if he'd just calm down. A truce.
A pragmatic solution under duress.
And the real insight, I think, comes at the end of the night. When James Sr., the father, gets home, she lies, completely lies about the entire night of destruction and screaming.
Why? Why cover for him?
Yeah. Her explanation was she did it to protect his only morsel of happiness, his rare night out. She seemed to understand that sometimes, strategic deception is needed to preserve a client relationship. Or maybe just the client's sanity.
That's surprisingly sophisticated thinking for a 12-year-old running an underground babysitting ring.
It really is. But she wasn't going back. She refused the next gig, but instead referred her sister, Sloane.
Oh, keeping in the family.
Right, but she added the ultimate warning for the parents.
And she carries mace.
Chuckles. The perfect chaotic management handover.
Okay.
So moving on from professional chaos to more personal territory.
Yeah.
Preferences. Dating. She started her dating life, apparently, with this remarkably strong prejudice.
Against her.
Red-headed men. She called them Hawaiian punchheads.
Wow, that's specific. And harsh.
Very. She genuinely seemed to believe it was a red-headed man's, quote, responsibility to change that hair color once they have access to a convenience store or supermarket if they wanted any chance at a serious relationship with her.
Okay, so zero tolerance for redheads. Until?
Until she met Austin. Nicknamed, inevitably, Big Red. He was tall, like 6'2", muscled, very confident, went to Stanford.
Ah, the exception that proves the rule.
Sort of. She found herself kind of compromising her prejudice. She noted that, yes, the physical appeal was there, but it started mixing with this realization that brains were starting to matter.
Okay, so combination of factors. But wait, the source material mentions a really specific, maybe shocking physiological detail that made this relationship work for her. Tell us about the jackpot.
Slight chuckle.
You're right.
The jackpot. The revelation was that Austin apparently had extremely sensitive nipples,
Okay, where's this going?
which caused him to climax almost instantly when they were touched.
Instantly.
That's what the source says. And the narrator considered this the jackpot of all jackpots.
Why? Because.
Exactly, because it meant she could essentially control the duration of the encounter.
No.
Sex never lasted longer than she wanted it to.
Wow. That is a very practical, almost utilitarian approach to physical intimacy. Maximum convenience and control for her.
Pretty much. Which maybe was necessary to offset the one major visual drawback for her,
Which was?
his red pubic hair.
Ah.
She described it quite vividly as a thick patch looking like a clown in a leg log, something requiring hedge trimmers.
Good grief.
Yeah,
Okay. It really highlights the specific, sometimes quite petty compromises people make, doesn't it?
it does. The things we overlook for convenience or a jackpot.
So how did this convenient relationship end?
Ironically, Austin ended it, claiming she was getting too serious.
Too serious after the nipple jackpot and the clown pubes.
Apparently so. But here's the final fantastic twist. It reveals the ultimate lack of seriousness, or at least commitment on her part.
What happened?
Moments after Austin left, her side boyfriend, Daryl, crawled out from under the bed.
No, seriously. Hiding under the bed.
Hiding under the bed. It just perfectly encapsulates this dual narrative, right?
Yeah.
The desire for external control of the nipple jackpot versus this internal chaotic need to keep all options open Daryl under the bed.
Unbelievable. Okay, speaking of inherited chaos, we absolutely have to discuss the family dynamic here, particularly the father.
Ah, yes, the father, whom the source material describes as having an almost complete lack of shame, which apparently earned him the affectionate family nickname Bitch Tits.
Chuckles. Affectionate is one word for it, and financially.
Well, his accountant son, her brother, calculated his total annual income one year at $7,300.62.
That's incredibly low.
It is. Yet he was this perpetual hustler, always dreaming up these bizarre kind of low-stakes business schemes,
Like what?
like trying to launch a lingerie line
Yeah.
or attempting to resell books he'd bought at Barnes& Noble, at Starbucks, or the car
It's
walk.
constant scheming.
Constant. And the source material is really essential here because it captures his utterly exhausting, nonstop negotiation style. She tells this story about watching him resell a Mustang to an Asian father.
Okay.
And he charged the guy an extra $20 for her book that she was reading, justifying it by claiming he'd only paid $15 for it at Barnes & Noble. Just relentless.
Wow, that lack of boundaries, it seems like a core theme.
A profound lack of boundaries. And it was really put to the test when she took him on a trip to Costa Rica.
Oh, I bet that was eventful.
Extremely. At airport security, he gets stopped. And his pockets yield this absolutely absurd collection of contraband.
Do tell.
A lighter, 3 nail files, a pocket wrench, a screwdriver, and a nectarine.
A nectarine! Why?
Who knows? Just prepared for anything, I guess. Or completely oblivious.
And faced with a long flight with this character, what does she do?
She employed a strategy that most listeners might find pretty jaw-dropping.
Which was?
She slipped an Ambien into his orange juice.
She drugged her own father.
According to the source, yes. When they landed, he was apparently fully incoherent, drooling on his chest, shouting, "Me gusta agua."
Oh my God. Desperate times, I suppose.
Indeed. Now, we do need to address some of the most sensitive parts of the source material here to really illustrate the father's complete rejection of social norms and boundaries. The narrator reports on his use of extremely offensive language during that Costa Rica trip. The sources recount him using racist and offensive terms like Q-tip, black magic.
Right, and it's critical, as we discussed, that we report these exchanges impartially. We're noting what the source material says happened.
Exactly. We're not endorsing it. The source also mentions him referring to a black DMV worker as a Schwarzia.
And crucially, the source material also includes the daughter's reaction, right? She wasn't passive.
Not at all. It shows her actively protesting his language, calling him retarded, challenging him directly, while he apparently insisted he was just repeating what they said.
Which really illustrates this constant psychological toll, doesn't it? Having to manage a parent who operates so far outside acceptable social behavior.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the boundary issues weren't just verbal, they were physical too. Equally uncomfortable.
How so?
On Father's Day, he apparently demanded she give him a back scratch while he was shirtless and made constant, inappropriate comments about her appearance. Things like, "You look very sexy in your little swimsuit."
If that's incredibly uncomfortable.
And when she finally asked him, please don't call her voluptuous, his response showed just total boundary erasure. He said, at least I asked where it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just no lines whatsoever. It paints a picture of a childhood spent constantly scrambling to build social barriers that the primary figure in her life just kept bulldozing.
That seems to be the pattern, yes. This lifelong struggle for control, for boundaries.
Which kind of culminates in this final attempt we read about, embracing boxing and healthy eating.
Right. After noticing her body had taken, in her words, a turn for the worse, she goes to see a nutritionist. She'd ruled out liposuction because, quote, she would under no circumstances be able to use street drugs.
Logical, I guess. So the
The
nutritionist.
nutritionist asked for a food journal of her recent weekend,
Yeah.
which happened to coincide with the baby shower. And the honesty in this journal is just staggering.
Revealing a massive indulgence.
Massive is an understatement. She justified it by saying, I wanted to go out with a bang before starting the healthy eating plan.
Okay, define bang. What was on the list?
Get ready. The detailed list includes 17 jalapeno poppers,
17.
1 brick of cheddar cheese with 12 whole wheat crackers, 14 chicken wings, 8 Bloody Marys, and 14 pigs in blankets.
That's not going out with a bang. That's like a controlled demolition of her digestive system.
Yeah.
A planned assault on self-control.
Pretty much. Now, because of her, let's say, previous issues with coordination,
What issues?
apparently she'd been kicked out of 3 different aerobics classes, once for accidentally punching a neighbor to the floor.
Chuckles. Okay. So maybe not naturally gifted at aerobics.
No. So the nutritionist suggested boxing instead, and she actually took to it, gained confidence, successfully lost 4% body fat. Things were looking up.
Knowing the pattern.
Exactly. This is where the chaotic pattern just crashes back in. After a successful weigh-in, feeling good, she didn't, consolidate her games or stick to the plan.
What did she do?
She immediately celebrated with an absolutely explosive sugar binge.
Of course she did.
Drove straight to Starbucks, ordered a Frappuccino, a turkey pesto sandwich, a piece of coffee cake, and a Rocky Road brownie. Told the poor counterwoman, I'm going to town.
Going to town indeed. And the sugar high.
Immediate and glorious, apparently, but followed very quickly by a monumental crash, a severe sugar hangover that she said made her feel like she'd been roofied.
Oh dear. Not a good state to be in.
Not at all. And that toxic mix, the newfound boxing confidence, plus the sugar-induced instability, led directly to the infamous alley brawl.
The alley brawl. What happened?
She was driving to the airport, still feeling the effects of the sugar crash, and apparently scared 3 teenage girls who were hanging out in an alley.
Okay.
One of them yelled at her, called her a fucking bitch, and then escalated it to cunt.
And the boxing training kicked in.
The boxing confidence certainly did. She pulled the car over, got out, started bouncing on her feet like a boxer, ready for a street fight.
Oh no. This isn't going to end well, is it?
Not remotely. The actual fight was just a chaotic mess. One girl immediately grabbed her and pulled her out into the street by her hair.
Ouch.
And then she attempted this magnificent left uppercut, which landed squarely in the center of her own forehead.
Blaps. She punched herself in the face.
She punched herself in the face. The irony is just perfect, isn't it? Her attempt at disciplined self-control, boxing, only gave her the confidence to execute this moment of pure, dangerous irrationality.
How did she get out of it?
She only managed to escape after realizing her car was still running, keys in the ignition about to be stolen. She jumped back in and drove off.
And then called her friend.
Called her friend Lydia, reported being jumped, and Lydia delivered the perfect grounding reaction. Jumped! This isn't a Michael Jackson video.
Chuckles. Brutal honesty from Lydia. It really highlights the consistent pattern, though. She generates some kind of control, a business plan, a diet, a boxing skill.
Right. Only for her own chaotic impulsivity to find some spectacular way to undermine it all, often turning the effort itself into a justification for maximum indulgence or just rash behavior.
And this chaos, it seems like it often finds her even when her intentions are arguably good, like trying altruism.
Yeah, that brings us to the final, maybe most devastating irony. The story of Kimmy the Midget.
Ah, yes, Kimmy. The narrator was quite obsessed.
Deeply obsessed. Loved her, quote, large cranium and medicine ball ass. She was absolutely determined to help Kimmy.
Help her how?
Believed Kimmy was this victim of circumstance, needed saving. She even managed to raise $676 from her production crew colleagues to pay Kimmy's husband's bail money.
Okay, that's quite generous.
She had these grand plans, apparently. Starting an arcade with Kimmy, maybe adopting a highway together.
So the White Knight complex?
Big time.
Yeah.
Kimmy was the real con artist all along.
Oh no, what happened?
About 3 months later, the narrator called Kimmy's mother, who casually informed her that Kimmy had taken the $676 bail money and immediately skipped town. Escaped to Costa Rica to become a scuba instructor.
A scuba instructor?
Yeah.
With the bail money? That's incredible. The ultimate failure of control, really. She got conned while trying to be the rescuer.
Exactly. But maybe the biggest takeaway from all these incredibly, sometimes uncomfortably candid narratives from that first Yugo lie right through to the alley brawl and Kimmy.
What is it?
It's the narrator's consistent ability to somehow transform humiliation, failure, even potential trauma into humor and a strange kind of power. She makes chaos her greatest resource.
It forces you to kind of redefine what counts as valuable experience, doesn't it?
It really does.
Eh.
And given this ability she has to weaponize her most embarrassing, most destructive life experiences, we wanted to leave you, the listener, with one final, maybe provocative thought to consider.
How do our own most chaotic, most embarrassing life experiences, the ones we usually try to forget, actually serve, perhaps paradoxically, as our most vital and unconventional resources for self-discovery, resilience, and maybe even humor?